The number shows up on a Tuesday. You're not looking for it. You're checking your brokerage app the way you always do, half out of habit, half out of the low-grade anxiety that never quite leaves once you've spent a decade watching a portfolio grow. Dividends, interest, a rental payment that hit 2 days ago. You added up without meaning to. $6,340 this month. From money, not from you. Your paycheck after taxes is $5,890. You stare at the screen for a while, you don't feel what you thought you'd feel. No fireworks, just a strange, quiet stillness, like the floor shifted an inch to the left and nobody else in the room noticed. You're 38. You've had the same job for 9 years. Mid-level, unglamorous, the kind of job people describe by the company name instead of the title, because the title never mattered much to begin with. You've never been the highest earner in any room you've sat in, but you started early, 26, a Roth IRA, $40 a paycheck because that's what you could spare. Then more. Then a rental property at 31, a duplex nobody else wanted because the tenant situation was messy and the roof needed work. You fixed the roof yourself over 3 weekends, YouTube tutorials playing on a phone, propped against a ladder. Nobody was watching then either. You don't quit your job. This surprises people when you eventually tell them. They expect the moment the investments out-earn the paycheck to be the moment you walk out. Dramatic. A mic drop in a fluorescent lit office. It isn't. You go to work the next morning the same as always, badge in, coffee poured, inbox full of the same small fires as every other Tuesday. But something underneath you has changed permanently, even if nothing on the surface has. You notice it in meetings first. A manager raises his voice about a missed deadline, and where you used to feel your stomach drop, you now feel almost nothing. Not defiance, not even confidence exactly, just distance. The job has quietly become optional, and optional things don't have the same grip on you that necessary things do. Your coworker Danielle asks why you seem so calm lately. I don't know, you say. Just a good month, I guess. You don't tell her the truth, that your rental income alone now covers your mortgage, your car payment, and half your groceries, and that the dividends from a portfolio you built slowly over 12 years cover almost everything else. You don't tell her because the moment you do, you know exactly what happens. The recalculating, the careful new distance. You've watched it happen to other people. You're not ready for it to happen to you. So you just let her think you're having a good month, which in a sense you are. You're having a good decade, quietly, 1 month at a time, and nobody around you has noticed yet. You still bring lunch from home, still drive the same car, a sedan with 94,000 miles on it that runs fine and looks like nothing. You've never seen the appeal of announcing this kind of thing, and now that you could announce it loudly if you wanted to, you find you want to even less. The strange part is how boring it all feels from the inside. You expected the crossing point, investments out-earning the job, to feel like an arrival. Instead, it feels like a Tuesday that happened to have a bigger number in one column than another. The work of getting here was loud in its own quiet way, full of ladders and spreadsheets and $40 contributions that felt pointless at the time. The arrival itself is silent. Your wife notices before anyone else does because she's the only one who sees the actual numbers. You know you don't have to keep doing this job, right? She says one night, the two of you at the kitchen table, laptop open between you, the household budget spread across the screen. I know, you say. Does that feel weird? You think about it for a second. It feels like insurance, you say. Like the job used to be the only rope holding us up. Now it's just one of a few. She nods. She understands this the way only someone who watched you skip vacations for a decade to fund an IRA can understand it. Not as a number, but as a decade of small, unremarkable refusals finally paying interest. Your brother finds out by accident the way most people find these things out. A slipped comment about a tenant, A mention of the properties, plural, that catches him off guard at a family dinner. Wait, he says, properties? How many do you have? A few, you say, and you watch him do the same, recalculating you've watched other people do to other people your whole life. Except this time, it's aimed at you, and it lands differently than you expected. Not painful exactly, just strange, like watching someone redraw a map of you in real time. He doesn't ask for anything. He's not that kind of brother. But he does start asking questions. Real ones about the duplex, about the Roth, about what you wish someone had told you at 26. And you find yourself answering slowly, carefully, the way you'd hand someone something breakable. You keep working for another 2 years after the crossing point. Not because you have to, because the job, stripped of its necessity, becomes something almost unrecognizable. Just a thing you do, chosen rather than required. And there's a strange relief in discovering you don't actually hate it once it stops being the only thing standing between you and collapse. You do notice, though, how differently you handle conflict now. A round of layoffs comes through in your 3rd year past the crossing point. Half the floor is anxious for weeks, hushed conversations by the printer, resumes quietly updated at lunch. You feel the tension in the room. You just don't feel it in your chest the way you used to. Your name doesn't come up in the layoffs, but you realize, sitting at your desk that afternoon, that it wouldn't have mattered as much either way. And that realization sits in you. You leave the job eventually on your own terms. On a Friday, nobody makes a big deal out of because you didn't make a big deal out of it either. A short email, a 2-week notice. Danielle asks what you're going to do next. Manage the properties more, you say. Maybe travel some. She looks at you a second too long, the way people do when they're trying to fit a new fact into an old picture of someone. You always seemed so unbothered by everything, she says. Now I guess I know why. You don't correct her. You don't tell her it wasn't unbothered. It was 12 years of $40 contributions and a roof fixed on a Saturday and rent checks that used to feel enormous and now feel routine. The stillness she saw wasn't the absence of struggle. It was the far side of it. You drive home that last Friday the long way, past the duplex, past the version of the roof you fixed yourself with a ladder and a phone propped against the gutter. It looks the same as it did 7 years ago. Ordinary. Unremarkable. A building nobody would guess had anything to do with the number that finally, quietly overtook your paycheck one Tuesday morning while you weren't even trying to notice. You sit in the driveway a minute before going inside, not triumphant, just settled. The way a house settles once its foundation has finally finished doing the work nobody ever sees.